Welcome to episode 2 of Checked In Podcast with Michael and Zach. This episode is sponsored by Popple, your digital business card. Professionals put Popple on their phones and keys to instantly share contact info with everyone they meet. The best part, the other person doesn't need a Popple or an app to receive your information. Buy yours now at popple.co. That's www.popl.co. And use code CHECKEDIN at checkout to get 20% off and obviously help the podcast. We greatly appreciate that. But me and Zach have been looking into, a little bit of the flat earth theory, and we came across this Bible verse. Genesis, what was it?
1:6-8.
1:6-8. And it goes, "Then God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. So the evening and the morning were the second day." Now that's in the Bible. Bible's got some history behind it, and it's in the Bible. Right. So I don't know how you feel about the world being like what we're known as, like the globe now, but if it's in the Bible,
it's gotta have some
validity.
Yeah. So firmament literally means the heavens or the sky, especially when regarded as a tangible thing. So like literally it's like why people were calling it the heavens and stuff like that, or like why everybody in the older civilizations were trying to go up again in the Bible, like the Tower of Babel, pyramids, stuff like that.
Every ancient ruin is going straight up.
Yeah, for sure. So, back to the flat Earth thing. I think it's funny because, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but it's like, I think it was like a year or two ago when Twitter and like every social media was like, water is not wet, water is wet, and then the other thing was like the earth is flat, the earth is round, and like B.O.B. was on like social media like in the forest smoking weed and shit and was like the earth is flat, believe me.
Dude, there's a lot of celebrities that back that though. Kyrie,
yeah, for sure.
Kyrie was another one, wasn't he?
Kyrie Irving, yep.
But the firmament and the flat earth theory, like that dates pre-modern time. Like all of the ancient art, all of that is all geocentric, which basically means the earth is, the earth is flat. We are in the center of that, as opposed to heliocentric, which is the earth being a globe in the center of the universe, galaxy, whatever.
Yeah.
So the fact that all of these ancient civilizations, even up to, fairly recent times, are depicting that as their idea of truth, and then we have out of nowhere the earth is out of nowhere,
out of nowhere, literally
thousands of years ancient civilizations are talking about how we have the firmament over it. In Egyptian times, they have the pictures of the gods holding up the firmament and the stars and the sun over the firmament. And now what? NASA says that we live on a globe, so now we just live on a globe? Like how?
I think that's crazy. Because like NASA started in 1958. And then crazy thing about NASA, literally in Hebrew it means to deceive. In Hebrew it means to deceive. So like NASA started in 1958. This is like probably right after we were like launching shit into the atmosphere just to see like how far a rocket could go up. Again, civilization trying to just go upwards and see how far up we could go. And then basically about 10 years later, we got that fake ass moon landing that was all filmed in Hollywood. Now if you look up from your like backyard or whatever, you see hella stars. In the moon landing video, like there's no stars, it's pitch black, it's just the earth and the moon and like Buzz and the like, and Buzz even said it was fake. So it's like, bro, NASA's literally like
And if you think about that, though, if you think about that, even like, so say somebody's got the argument that like cameras weren't that advanced back then, which by the way, bullshit.
Yeah.
But we'll go with that.
Yeah.
You're in fucking space, bro. You're telling me that your camera can't get millions of stars, not one.
Yeah.
The pictures of the moon landing had 0 stars.
Yeah.
0.
Nothing. Yeah.
You're in space on the moon.
Where the stars will be way more apparent, and
that's what I'm saying. And you see 0 of them? How is that even fucking possible, bro? All you see is literally the moon and Earth.
Right.
Tell me how.
I don't know how, bro.
Tell me how.
It's crazy.
And another thing on top of that, I was watching a video, and there's this guy who was actually going in depth on NASA pictures and videos that they've posted to their website and shit. Yeah. And he broke it down because he's a graphic designer.
Oh, weird.
And he breaks down like the images that they post on their website.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pictures that they post on the website that you can tell are CGI or modified to look realistic when in reality, like there's like, for example, there's like masses of land that have been duplicated. I'm not talking about like some crazy good, like insanely talented graphic design. I'm talking about literally cut out a square, copy, put it somewhere else, paste it.
So like Minecraft.
Minecraft level quality on these government funded websites.
Oh my god.
Tell me how you believe there's a globe when NASA's blatantly bullshitting all of you.
Literally.
All of us.
Yeah. And then another thing too I kept seeing like was people were like in airplanes and they're like, no, the earth is round, like I can see the curvature, and like literally like scientists are like, no, you can't see the curvature in an average airplane height, like you have to be over like 200,000, like you have to be basically where all you see is blue and then black, like that's how high up you have to be in the atmosphere for you to see that. Then also, speaking about being that high up, I also seen like, you know, I was doing some research about it because I'm like, well, how high up does our atmosphere go? And the whole thing about that is that's really crazy is the atmosphere, it literally, to put a cap on the atmosphere is kind of like, it's like, they can't put a cap on it. Like they can't, like there's no scientific system where, or like recording where the stop of the top of our atmosphere is. And like even the moon is said to be in our atmosphere, and the moon is like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of millions of, I don't know how far the moon is from us, but it's damn far. And basically
it's fucking far.
It's far, right? It's far. It looks like a thumb, and you put your thumb up here, you pretty block out the moon. But like, yeah. So there's no real like measurement on how far our atmosphere goes, because it's just determined as our magnetic pull, which will basically be our atmosphere still, even though it's past the moon and stuff like that. So it's like if the moon is in our magnetic pull to the earth, then that's still within our atmosphere, and there's like really no determining. So like, how far did we really go from our atmosphere with a rocket ship? You know what I mean? Like,
not far.
Right.
Not far.
It's still in the earth technically. It's just like there's less and less air the further away you go from the crust. So it's like, you can't really, if scientists can't even really determine that, how are we gonna determine? Yeah.
No, you can't. Yeah, I mean, you literally can't. And what they were saying too is, there were scientists talking about how we can't pass through they call it a radiation belt. It's a Van Allen radiation belt. Yeah. And scientists were saying we can't pass through that Van Allen radiation belt. Yeah. But then that was recently. I'm sorry. They were saying that in 2013, it would be detrimental to pass through the Van Allen radiation belt, but somehow we landed on the moon in the late 1900s. Oh, okay.
Right.
And then with the whole Operation Fishbowl.
Yeah.
Operation Fishbowl.
Yeah.
Like, did you saw that?
Yeah. They're just like, so like that was under Operation Dominic, and Fishbowl is basically like, so like they just took over, during our imperialistic times after World War II, took over like the the Pacific Islands and all that shit, and basically they set up like all these scientific like research stations, and they were all connected through like satellite and shit. And basically, like in radio waves, I don't even think it was 100% satellite. I think it was more radio than satellite, because I don't think we had that many satellites up, anyways.
Right.
But I think it was like at the time, it was like us and Russia had like maybe 2 or 3 in orbit. So,
in orbit.
In orbit, right? But basically, they were all doing it through radio waves, and like, they were all on these islands, and they were gonna do it on Hawaii, but they're like, nah, like,
too close.
Yeah, it's too close to like America, and like it's actually like American soil, so they're not gonna do it there. So they did it on, I believe, like Johnson Island or something like that.
I think it was something like
that.
I could actually pull it up right now. It was on nailed the fucking Johnson Island.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
Johnson
like,
Atoll.
Yeah. So like,
which is fun fact for you.
Yeah.
That's where SpongeBob is actually.
Oh, really?
The Bikini Bottom is actually right there.
Yo, that's funny. So basically, they're like launching like atom bombs up into the atmosphere, and like they kept exploding, and like they weren't reaching to where they thought they could reach. And then there's also some footage of it hitting something. I believe this was Starfish was the highest one that went up.
Yep.
And they actually hit something, but they weren't sure what it was. And I don't think they attempted it again after that. And they had people like in the water, like on boats, like trying to, everybody was trying to just look up and analyze what was going on and stuff like that. So like that to me is crazy. And the cool thing about the word or the name Dominic, it means close to God. So like the whole thing about a firmament being like heaven and sky, whatever, is crazy too. And there's also a theory about the firmament that we're actually underwater, which is kind of how it's described in the Bible. But it's like it's the earth, and then there's like water above, and above the firmament, it's still within the atmosphere, which is why the sky is blue and stuff like that. And then then there's outer space and stuff like that. So I think that's crazy, because like what if we actually like crack it? Like if there's like a atmosphere, we just crack it and it's like water.
Dude, trying to do that stupid shit just to end up dying from that.
Right.
But you know what's crazy? I just looked it up because I saw something on TikTok about how these operations like were back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And then to your point, when did you say NASA was created?
1958.
1958. So Operation High Jump, which is what we talked about on our last podcast.
Yeah.
Operation High Jump, that took place from 1946 to 1947, right? And then Operation Deep Freeze, which was the exploration. So High Jump was to get onto Antarctica, whatever. Operation Deep Freeze was actually all of the world powers, not just the U.S. There's Belgium in this, British Empire, France, Germany, Japan, Norway, Soviet Union, Sweden, and the U.S. They were all part of this. Operation Deep Freeze took place from 1955 to 1956, so they went back. So after Operation High Jump, they went back with Operation Deep Freeze with all of the other world powers, all the other countries, and actually explored it and came to terms with the fact that they're not going to conquer this land. This is going to be the only land in the entire world that no government, no country can try and take over. So that was done there in Operation Deep Freeze. Then you said NASA's discovered in 1958, which is just 2 years after this.
Literally.
And then Operation Fishbowl, 1962.
Right.
So they go to Antarctica, find some shit.
Right.
Operation Deep Freeze then is where everyone goes to check this shit out and figure some shit out. NASA's discovered. Operation Fishbowl, where they're now trying to crack the firmament or to find out what they can do to the firmament. Yeah. And that's just back to back to back to back, chronological order, like that.
Right.
They literally just it makes fucking sense.
Yeah, and then that's where you get like the whole space race thing. That's like the picture, if you ever seen in your textbook, if you actually like did your homework, where like all the world flags were like on the ice. But to me, thinking about this in a more open mind, it's like how we were saying in our last podcast, basically like we think that there's like aliens in Antarctica. And basically, they called all the world, and to me now, it's like all the world people, all the world leaders are being called to Antarctica to report back, to the aliens and be like, hey, we're here. Mm-hmm. You guys have found us. We've been in all your countries already.
And even the UN logo, bro.
Yeah.
Have you seen, are you familiar with the UN logo?
It's like the
United Nations logo?
Yeah, it's like a white globe, right?
So it's a white circle. It's a map of the Earth.
Yeah.
But if you look at that, it has all of the countries minus Antarctica.
Oh yeah.
But then it has surrounding it.
Oh yeah.
The sign for peace and unity.
Right.
So the symbol for the United Nations depicts the Earth as a flat Earth.
Yeah.
Minus Antarctica.
Right.
Because Antarctica goes around the Earth.
The Earth, right. Yeah. No, that makes mad sense. That really makes mad sense. That's crazy. I'm looking at it right now. Like, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So, and then literally after all this shit is done, like, it's NASA, and then it's the space race with, Soviet versus United States. And it's like, who can go higher? And then the United States is like, oh, we got there first. We're the better country. It's like, no, you didn't.
Not at all.
Not at all.
And
like,
that's just propaganda that the U.S. is telling U.S. citizens.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in Russia, that's not fact.
Yeah. Like, you guys are worried about a war? We just landed on the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
Which goes back to me thinking like, yo, I think for sure that if they didn't kill JFK, we would have found all this out.
100%.
I think he would have flipped NASA on his head. Maybe would have still kept it to like, okay, now we can tell them blah blah blah. But like the whole thing, like that whole JFK theory, like where it could have been a laser, it could have been a bullet, multiple bullets. Yeah, I mean, like that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's crazy just to think, like, even when Michael Jackson died, they're like, oh, it was a laser from the sky. Dick Gregory said that. And then
What'd he say?
It was a laser from the sky that hit him in his arm and all this shit.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and that's why like they couldn't really if you ever look at all his death records and stuff, his name is spelled wrong, his height, his weight is wrong, like all that stuff. Yeah, from his birth certificate. It's all wrong. Like it's weird. That's another conspiracy we can talk.
What the fuck? I had no idea.
We could get it. We're gonna have an episode about that too. But yeah, any like person that randomly dies that's like really famous and semi woke or whatever, or just like has some type of power. Like Michael Jackson had power as like probably too much power as a singer. Where like he literally the streets would like the buildings will empty and the streets will fill because he was walking in the street. He moved like militantly. He kind of looked like a world general, like with the way he dressed and stuff. So it's like, stuff like that happens, bro. And then Michael Jackson also made the soundtrack to E.T. So it's like that's also pretty cool too. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, that's why he got like 6 Grammys for it.
What?
Yeah, bro. Like
I had absolutely no clue.
Yeah, he made the soundtrack to E.T., him and Quincy Jones, and then they also made Thriller, I think, in that same year. So like that's why he has so many Grammys. Some of them are from the movie, some of them are from Thriller. But yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like
shit don't add up.
Yeah, it's not adding up. We need answers.
But dude, the whole flat earth theory, in my opinion, is, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It actually makes sense.
For sure.
If you think about, like, the firmament, and even like people are saying like how is the sun exist, how does the sun exist,
Yeah.
how are the seasons and all of that.
Yeah.
And it actually, like, when you look it up,
Mm-hmm.
it's logical. Like, it talks about how the sun rotates around the firmament
Yeah.
and lowers, like circles and lowers slowly
Mm-hmm.
as the year goes on, and then
Yeah.
comes back up as the year goes on. So that's where you get your seasons:
Yeah.
winter, summer, spring, and fall.
Yeah.
And then the countries that are closer to the equator,
Mm-hmm.
they're exposed to that on an extreme level all year long.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the equator comes into place, because the sun doesn't go full north, full south.
Yeah.
It goes like partially north down to partially south. So like these countries that are on the equator
Mm-hmm.
are getting hit with the sun all the time.
Yeah.
So even people saying like, how are seasons to exist on a flat earth, or how does the sun work, or any of that, like,
yeah.
that makes total sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure. It's just the same as NASA tries to tell us in school, like, oh, we rotate this far around for winter, and then, or this close for summer, and then this far around for winter, and then as we're on this side, the Earth is more colder. But that alone never made sense to me, because it's like we're on the same circle going around. Right. And Japan has like their winter when we have summer. So like, and vice versa. So we're all on the same globe. We're all getting the same 24-hour circle, right?
Right.
How do we have opposite seasons on the opposite sides of the earth, but we're on the same globe and we're at the same distance from the sun? You know what I mean? So like, stuff like that also doesn't make any sense to me, bro. You've now been checked in. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Checked In Podcast, on Twitter at Checked In Cast, Facebook, the Checked In Podcast. I think that's all our socials, right?
We got everything.
We're on Twitch too. I forgot, what is our Twitch? Just Checked In Podcast. Checked In Podcast. Yeah. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment what you think. We want to know what you guys think about this conspiracy theory. Is the earth really flat? You know, is the Bible wrong? Okay. What's going on with everything? Just let us know what you think.
Full debates in the comment section.
Yeah, full debates. We're actually gonna engage in it too. Turn on the notifications every time we post. Every time, if you're on Facebook, you know, turn on our notifications. You're on Twitter, put the bell on. YouTube, put the bell on. We have stuff coming on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff coming soon. Don't forget to get your pop either.